Greetings. In this video I am going to discuss the Waltz in E minor by Ferdinand Carulli on page 85 of the Christopher Parkening Classical Guitar Method, Volume 1. That's a mouthful. Now, this piece is marked as lento, which means slow. So we can take our time through it. Now, it's slow, but at the same time we've got 6 notes per measure. So you can interpret that as slow for, that whole measure, or we could think of it as slow for each of those 3/8. But that gets really, really slow. I think something more along the lines of gets us through the piece in a much more reasonable amount of time and maintains the interest, keeps the momentum and everything. So those are things to consider with a piece when you're deciding your tempo. It's got to be fast enough that if there's a melody, the melody has a sense of forward movement, and we don't want a piece to take too long. If it's constantly going new places and has interesting sounds, then it's fine for it to be a long piece. But if it's very repetitive, such as this piece, then I would encourage you to not take it too slow, or you're going to have a bored audience. Now, it starts out in E minor, and then it shifts into G major. So just having kind of a brighter, closer to the bridge sound in the beginning kind of conveys the minor key very well. But then on the fourth system, when we brighten up into that G major, I would say bring it closer to the sound hole, and you'll just get a softer sound that complements just the mood that the piece is taking on. Now, another thing that I would incorporate into this piece is rest strokes. So for example, our high notes, unfortunately we don't have down stems for our non-melodic notes. Instead, we have tons and tons of up stems in this piece. But I think it sounds much better to rest stroke. That's going to help to differentiate your melody from the rest of the notes. It's if you interpret this melodically. I think it sounds much nicer. If you listen to my recording, you'll hear what I'm talking about, where I try to bring out certain notes to kind of carry things forward. Otherwise, we're just hearing a rush of notes, which when you're just getting started on a guitar, it can be exciting just to play a lot of notes. But when we start to be able to have more control and develop that discernment, it's really important to bring certain notes out of our textures so that we have something for our listener to really grab onto and follow. So it's pretty easy to just grab one little rest note off the top string, but when we move into the G major section, so starting on system 4, we're going to have these I would be just extra careful to give those extra attention. Give a little vibrato. And it can be a little overwhelming when you're first getting the hang of rest strokes. I would practice them aggressively. The Julio Segura's method books suggest just an obscene amount of rest strokes. And at first it's really, really difficult to get used to. But if you practice it pretty faithfully, you'll get used to just applying them to all sorts of situations, and you'll discover that they're incredibly useful. It's one of those things where I'll be playing with a lot of rest strokes, and I may have a moment where I can't use one, but because my ear is attuned to how I'm making the string sound, I'll play that string in a different way. And it's shaped how I approach my technique and how I shape my sound. So I would be aggressive about just fighting to really apply those rest strokes as early on in your training as you can, because they're incredibly valuable and just develops strength, it develops flexibility and positioning. Our right hand needs to shift around to where it can get these good rest strokes, but then come in and get these free strokes at different angles. And it's very good practice to train our brain how to move around and handle these strings with delicacy and intentionality. And even forcefulness. It's not just delicacy, but it's more like intention, where we have very specific reasons for doing the little things that we do. So we want that control, and that comes from pushing our limits and going beyond our comfort zone and trying different things. So get those rest strokes in this piece, try to bring out the melody, try to discover what's the best configuration of notes to pull out of this texture in order to get a really sweet sounding piece. I hope this is helpful. Thank you for watching.